We're live, but when it loads, there you go. How's it going, everybody? Jim Adkins here. Jim Adkins there. White Tiger Martial Arts. I'm going to go forward with blue belt, blue, green, and brown. And thanks for tuning in. I'm going to use Jimmy real quick to help me because what we're going to do is we're going to talk about arm chin na, and that's for blue belt. Now, when we do arm chin na for blue, it will bleed into, no pun intended, green belt weapons, and green belt weapons will also bleed into brown belt today. So what we're going to do is arm chin na. Any blue belt technique that you have, what I want you to do is look for the opportunity to gather the arm and use chin na. When I say this, I'm not talking about on fall on the floor, roll around, grab, do arm bar between your legs. If you want to, go ahead, but I'll show you why it's not good to put something between your legs and hold on to it and expect to control somebody later, okay? Right? So Jimmy's going to punch, and it doesn't matter punch. It doesn't matter if he hits me, if I block it, if I'm capturing it, wherever it doesn't matter. As soon as I have the arm, I have arm chin na. That's what I want you to work on. So if he punches and you get hit, let's say you get hit in the face and you automatically go to this oh crap situation. If I lock the front part of his arm, I have the rest of his arm for chin na. If I miss that lock and I roll around, I have other chin na available. Okay, so I want you to start capturing the arm. A couple of ways to do that is to look at mantis. We've done praying mantis kung fu. We've done snake kung fu too. So when he punch with your left hand for them for a minute. So he punches, and I get to the outside, and I start to roll it. I'm going to slow this down for you because this is a simple idea that looks really cool. But it's simple, okay? So he punches, and I get to the outside of it. He's not going to leave his hand there. He's going to pull it back and probably punch with the other hand. As he pulls it back, I'm going to follow it. So he starts to pull it back. I follow it, and I keep in contact. We count on this. So we'll go slow. He throws a right punch. I go to the inside. He's not going to keep his hand there. He's going to pull it back and punch with the other hand, right? Or grab or whatever. So he punches, and I make contact. And as he pulls it back, we follow that lock. We'll go slow. He punches. I go to the outside. He starts to pull it back. I'm going to track. Slow down so I don't have to go fast and hurt you. I'm going to track his arm. Let's say he throws the other one across. I have the second arm now. He punches. I go to the outside. He starts to pull it back. I've got wrist chin na. You see the other one coming. Here's that arm chin na. If I want to track this arm, I can stop that arm with arm chin na. He throws his left punch, and I get to this side. He starts to throw the right punch. I can use arm chin na just by following the track. So we track the motion. We sticky hand him, okay? Any technique you have in blue belt, anything you have. And I know in blue there's some throws and punch. You've got dance of death where you start to do a leg chin na. You can find arm chin na on that too. I want you to try. While you're doing this, pick two of your favorite Kenpo techniques that you're working on and just do it, okay? Now I'm going to walk over here and get a weapon real quick. Jimmy and I decided not to use the real blade, but he brought me one out of his room that he's building that's still sharp, so we're going to be careful. For green belt, what I wrote down, blocking drill, okay. Poke. There's a poke, stab. That's a stab, okay? That's two terminologies you're going to use, a poke or sewing machine or whatever, and then a stab. Those are the two terms we're going to use for a knife. And he's going to use my gun in a minute, too. And I don't have a fake gun here, so we're going to use a real one, too. It's unloaded. We're very safe, okay? He shot me earlier, and we figured that out. Kidding. He goes to poke. What I want you to do, this is my diaphragm, okay? Can you see that? Above the diaphragm, below the diaphragm. That's where we're going to use our marking point for green belt. You know this. I want you to practice your basic blocking drills to find out which ones work and which ones don't for the weapon. This is going to bleed into brown belt too because we're going to go offensive weapons for brown. So defensively, green belt. If it's below the diaphragm and I go to use an inward block, right? If I go to use an outward block, maybe. And we're going to look at why maybe in a minute. So he goes to stab, and I come over the top. Let me show you why I did that. He's low, below my diaphragm. That's below my elbows. It's better to move this direction when it's below the diaphragm. Even if it's this much higher, it makes more sense to come underneath it. Did you see that? This much higher, and it changes everything. So your blocking drill, when he goes to stab, I want you to start thinking in terms of how effective is this? How effective is this? How effective is this? And how effective is this? Now, we're not grabbing yet. You know you're supposed to grab. You know you're supposed to get that weapon. But let's assume you can't grab a hold. You're trying, but he's in and out quick. In and out as fast as you can. Fast as so he goes there, and I go, whoa, and I miss it, and I don't get a hold of it. What then? But a glancing straight pullback is better than a solid stab. Does that make sense? I'm going to get cut. Well, I'm not. In a knife fight, you can expect to get cut and stabbed. Do you give up? So your blocking drill is what you're practicing. Now, on the other end of that, what I want you doing while you're doing this, let's say Jimmy, Mr. Adkins, he does, you can take his right hand, you're going to come over the top like that. You're going to circle it, grab Japanese hand. Here, that's the knife technique, okay? So he does that again. While he's doing that, I want you as brown belts to notice that there are opportunities to redirect that blade. Once he makes contact, this is a reference point, and you need to know this on both sides of the equation. I have failed. I know that. I'm not going to allow that motion that he wants to do to stop me from my objective. So let's say he does an inward block. What is my option here? I could, like a movie, no, or I could pull it back across his arm. He does an outward block, and I'm here. He's got the blade. I've got the blade right here. Even if he's stronger than I am and he's going to start to pull away and starts hitting me or whatever, I've got other options that I can use. That's what you're doing for Brown. You know, put the blade or the weapon in your hand, and you're going to assume, hopefully have, I don't know if you can do it from a 6-foot distance with your partner or not, but if you've got somebody to work with and they make contact, that's what you want, is that contact point. I don't know if you can see how I turn the knife back into the arm. And if I'm going fast and hard like this, it's really not an effective strike in the first place. Weapons are meant to be felt, not seen. This would be a very ridiculous situation for me to be attacking. But let's say we're in the midst of whatever and he captures my arm. From here, you can't see what's happening. From here, you can. Make sense? Okay. Don't forget about changing hands. You got the gun? It is empty. Sure. Okay. So he points the gun at me. Empty. We checked it 3 or 4 times. And he's got the gun. When you're practicing greenbelt, when you're practicing your blocking set, let me turn facing you. Okay. If I go like this, what does that do to the people behind me? So he points the gun at me, and I go, ah, and you get shot. Or, ah, and you get shot. Okay. So I want you to start paying attention to how you maneuver the weapon. So he points it at the side of your head. Let's say, he's close, or even let's say he gets you, and you're doing this thing. This is what's happened. There's a way out of this, okay? But you need to be aware of what's happening here. Okay? We're going to go over this. Shoot, this video is supposed to be private. I will stop here, and we will just do this. I want you to make sure, hold on to it, got it, that you pay attention to where the muzzle goes when you're blocking, whenever you're doing a technique and you have to make contact with their hand and it doesn't involve taking the gun yet. Please be aware of that. We'll stop there. I'll make the video private. Boy, I get going. Thanks, Jim. Of course, take my. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop there. Thank you, sir. and I'm going to go private with the gun and the knife stuff. But for blue belt, arm chin na, okay? Arm chin na. Anytime you have a technique and you find yourself where there's an arm, you're going to find it if they're fighting, grabbing, or wrestling you, right? As soon as you find the arm, start working on the elbow and the shoulder joint. It's real easy to do. It takes a partner, but you can kind of imagine by now, 2-3 years into martial art, you should have a good imagination about how it works. If you don't know your anatomy by now, you're not where you're supposed to be. Okay, good. I think that's it for this rank. If you have questions, and I know it's hard to understand this, the easiest thing to do is go to your chart, get your favorite 2 techniques, 3 techniques. Okay, find arm chin na for blue. For green belt, take whatever weapon or whatever technique you're working on and look at your blocking sets, your basic blocks, just your basic inward, outward, upward, downward, extended outward, universal block, hooking blocks, parries, and smothers, and work against the weapon, inside and outside, above the line and below the line. If I went too fast, rewind it, write it down. Okay? What you're looking for is defensive control. You're going to find that a regular simple block is a very temporary control. It will not control the weapon, but it will control the attempted attack with the weapon briefly. Once you make contact, the subtle changes that you do after that are huge and important. Okay? And we'll talk about that on the next video. Look for arm chin na as well. Brown belt. You put the weapon in your hand. Okay? Once you make your attack, and I don't want you making silly Hollywood attacks. You can, the big, crazy, slicing, whatever, put the weapon that you carry that you're going to use in your hand. I'm going to go private with the rest of this video. But start looking at retaliation points as a countermeasure already planned into your offensive move. Got it? A forward line interrupted turns into a circle using the universal pattern. A circle interrupted turns into a forward line. I'll just stop there. Look at your geometry and your shapes. All right, guys. I love you. I'll come back with a black belt video, and then I'll go private with the rest of them. I got a tiger to crane, too. I'll do that if they don't stop me from going live. They usually limit the amount of space I can use. We'll see what happens next. Talk to you in a minute.